Thank you, Minister. We will now go to MPLE. MPLE, you will have 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank the Minister for appearing on such a short notice on this, this important topic. Through you, Madam Chair, Minister, I have been contacted by quite a few constituents and several stakeholders who are concerned about the situation of these international students who are facing the possibility of deportation. First, I wonder if the Minister could provide us with some idea of the numbers of students who are affected by this situation.
Yes, so the number of students, there is, I believe, 82 people that were referred to the IRB process. And of the 82, there are about 25 who are still going through the process, and there are, the balance would be 57 people who've actually been subjected to a removal order. Clearly different than the initially reported 700. There may be additional cases who come through in the future, but as it stands now, there are 82 people who were referred by CBSA to the IRB, and 57 who've been subjected to removal orders as a result.
Thank you. Again, through you, Madam Chair, there needs to be a fact-finding process to distinguish between those genuine students who had no knowledge of the fraud committed by the consultant and those who were complicit in that fraud. The Minister has set up a task force of IRCC officials to work with CBSA for that purpose. Can the Minister provide us with more information about the fact-finding process and elaborate on what is meant in today's statement by the word, if the facts are clear?
Certainly. Thank you for this. So the process will work roughly as follows, and I'll perhaps try to answer Mr. Appel's question as part of my response. The task force is going to have senior officials from IRCC and CBSA. CBSA is going to refer the individuals who are implicated to IRCC. We will investigate on the basis of the totality of the evidence, including whether a person in fact did come and study, whether they complied with the terms of the permit that they thought they were legitimately issued, and we will look at other factors that a student may be able to adduce. If the determination at the end of that process is that the person did not have knowledge of the fraudulent documentation that allowed them to enter Canada, and they intended to study genuinely, they'll be permitted to remain in Canada. They'll be issued a temporary residency permit and will be able to continue to work or study as the case may be until they come up on the next step in their immigration journey in Canada, at which point we will be able to use humanitarian and compassionate grounds to make sure that their application is not prejudiced should they fall into the cohort of people who we believe were not complicit in fraud and instead were taken advantage of by fraudsters. At the end of the day, the goal here is to make sure that the immigration journey for the innocent actors is not interrupted by this dramatically unfortunate episode. But we need to have the fact-finding process to determine whether somebody who came to Canada on a study permit with no intent to study actually should be able to face the consequences, particularly where they knew about the fraud that allowed them to enter Canada and decided to move forward with those applications anyway.
Thank you. It seems to me that threat of deportation is a kind of blunt instrument in this situation and is really counterproductive. These are young people who grew up in another country halfway around the world and are used to following adult guidance with respect to their studies. Most of them have come here and studied at approved institutions of higher learning. Can the Minister assure us that this discretionary authority will be used to prevent deportation of any of those students until the department completes its fact findings?
Yes, I can confirm that's the case, and I should just, for fullness of the explanation of the process, before we even get into the territory where we need to concern ourselves with deportations, the ordinary process through which a person can make their case at the IRB will apply. The need for the task force process we shared details of today only arises after a negative decision is rendered at the IRB. So a person will go through the ordinary process, but if they are found inadmissible by the IRB, we will immediately issue a temporary residence permit that will allow for the duration of the investigation to be completed, and the deportation will not be acted upon until there is a final determination of the task force about the nature of a person's knowledge of fraud and their genuine intent to study.
Thank you for clarity. Madam Chair, how much time do I have?
55 seconds.
Minister, I know you've been listening and working hard on this issue with the genuine intent. And I know the opposition party is exploiting this situation of that innocent students who are victim of fraud. And you have made it clear that those students would not be deported until they have gone through this process. Do you want to add anything more to make it more clear to those students who are in this limbo?
Look, I don't want to attribute motivations to any people or one party or another. My experience has been that there have been good advocacy from members of Parliament from different parties. You have been a stalwart advocate, Shafkat in particular. There are others sitting in this room. I look down, everybody has spoken to me about this. Tom and Brad have both reached out to me before. We've had Alexei and some of his bloc colleagues discuss the issue. Jenny has been discussing this with me, and in fact we had the chance to meet to discuss the issue as well.
Minister, time is up.
The reality is we're listening to the feedback, regardless of where it comes from, and trying to advance solutions that meet the needs of communities based on the feedback we've taken.